All right, welcome in, everyone. Today, we're doing a deep dive into a book that I think a lot of you have probably heard of, Never Eat Alone.
Oh yeah, this is a classic.
It's by Keith Ferrazzi, and it's all about the power of relationships, but um, it goes way deeper than just, the typical networking advice.
Yeah.
We're not just talking about collecting business cards here. We're going to be looking at how to build genuine connections,
hmm
the kind that can really have a huge impact on your life, both personally and professionally.
Yeah, and what's really interesting about Ferrazzi's approach is he kind of like flips the script on how we usually think about networking.
Hmm.
Like he's not talking about using people to get ahead or just trying to, climb that social ladder.
Right, it's not a ladder at all.
It's about creating this win-win situation where you're building relationships where everybody benefits, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's like you're building this circle of people that you genuinely care about, and they, in turn, want to see you succeed.
Exactly. It's not transactional at all.
Right. It's about more than just what they can do for you, but what you can do for them.
Yeah, and that's where I think Ferrazzi's emphasis on generosity really comes in. He takes this idea and he pushes it to a whole new level.
Hmm.
Like he's not just saying, oh, buy someone a coffee or do them a small favor. He's talking about really digging deep and finding ways to truly add value to their lives without expecting anything in return.
Right. Yeah. And there's this one story in the book that really stuck with me. I mean, it perfectly illustrates this whole idea. Ferrazzi talks about connecting a struggling entrepreneur. I think he was a friend of his.
Yeah.
He connected him with this top-tier business consultant who could, really help turn his business around.
Wow.
And it wasn't just, a casual, hey, you two should meet kind of introduction. I mean, Ferrazzi basically convinced this consultant to work for free for a few months to help this guy get back on his feet. I mean, come on, that's amazing.
Yeah. That's going above and beyond for sure.
It is, right.
It shows how this kind of unconventional generosity, it can have this ripple effect. And not just for the person you're helping, but for your entire network. Because now you're known as the person who can make those kinds of things happen.
Exactly. And so then, that leads us to some of Ferrazzi's more practical strategies, right? And he's a big proponent of something that I know a lot of people think is maybe a little bit old-fashioned, but he believes in it strongly. And that's hosting dinners, having people over for dinner, getting together.
Yeah, but he doesn't just say, have people over for dinner and leave it at that, right?
Yeah.
He really breaks down, why it's so effective and how to do it right.
Exactly.
He talks about, creating an experience, making it a memorable gathering. And it's not about, showing off your culinary skills or anything like that. It's about, like you said, creating a space for connection, having real conversations in a comfortable setting, putting people at ease.
Yeah, and I love the idea. I mean, I get it. I do. But I wonder, does that strategy always work? I mean, what about people who are more introverted or just have, super jam-packed schedules?
Yeah.
Are there other ways to connect besides having dinner?
Yeah, of course, of course. And Ferrazzi addresses that too. He talks about the power of what he calls warm introductions. So this is where you're connecting people in your network who you think could genuinely benefit from knowing each other.
Right.
It's like being a strategic matchmaker.
Yeah, it's like you're saying, you have this thing and you need this thing, and I know someone who can help.
Exactly.
I love that. I love that idea of being a connector.
Yeah.
It really reminds me of that saying, your network is your net worth.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's not just about, the quantity of the connections you have, right?
Right.
It's about the quality of those connections and how you're actually leveraging those relationships to help others.
And all of this, right? The dinners, the introductions, it's all for nothing if you don't follow up.
Yep.
Ferrazzi is very adamant about staying in touch.
Yeah.
Even if it's just a quick email or even a handwritten note, just something that shows people that you value the relationship and that you're invested in their success.
Yeah, it makes a big difference. And, speaking of staying in touch and making those connections, Ferrazzi also talks a lot about the importance of crafting a strong personal brand.
Oh, yeah. This is key.
And he's talking about, presenting yourself in a way that reflects your values and your expertise, both online and offline.
Yeah, and I think this ties back to the idea of generosity that we were talking about earlier, right?
Totally.
Your personal brand should really showcase what you have to offer the world, how you can help other people and what makes you unique. It's about building this reputation for being someone who adds value and makes a positive impact.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I think a lot of people hear that building a brand and they kind of freak out a little.
Correct.
They're like, oh, that's for like celebrities and influencers.
Yeah.
I don't have a brand. I don't need a brand. But Ferrazzi, I think he breaks it down in a way that makes it seem really accessible to everyone.
Yeah, he does. It's not about like this big marketing campaign. It's about being intentional, right? It's about how you present yourself to the world,
Yeah.
showing up consistently as your best self and sharing your knowledge and expertise generously.
Right. And it's not this one-time thing, right? It's this ongoing process,
Exactly.
And that leads to Ferrazzi's point about building networks before you need them. Don't wait until you're desperately searching for a job or you really need a favor from somebody to start reaching out. Because genuine relationships, they take time and effort to cultivate. You can't just snap your fingers and have a network.
Exactly. And that's where I think this concept of continuous learning comes in. See your network as this vast resource.
Right.
For knowledge and for growth. Be curious, ask questions, be open to learning from everyone you meet, regardless of their, title or their position.
Yeah. It's like Ferrazzi saying, don't just collect contacts, collect wisdom.
Right.
Use your relationships to really expand your understanding of the world and to constantly challenge yourself to grow.
Exactly.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into Never Eat Alone, I mean, we've talked about it a lot today. It's a really rich book.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest takeaway is that building strong relationships is an ongoing journey.
For sure.
It's about being genuine, being generous, and always being open to learning and growing.
Yeah. Like life itself.
Right. And so maybe a final thought to leave you with. How can you, take this principle of unconventional generosity that we talked about and apply it to your own networking efforts? What unique skills or knowledge do you have that you can share with others to really build those authentic, meaningful connections?
I love that. Think about that, everyone.
Yeah, and let us know, too. We'd love to hear.
Yeah.
All right, that's it for our deep dive into Never Eat Alone by Keith Ferrazzi. Join us next time. We'll have another deep dive for you. Until then, happy networking.
Bye, everyone.
See ya.